And if you're like most Americans, getting back into the gym and into shape is a regular resolution. For others, it's financial fitness. Both can take some hard work to achieve. Joining us is local certified financial planner Michael Neuenschwander from Outlook Wealth Advisors. Good morning to you, Michael, and thank you so much for joining us on this very important topic.
Morning. Glad to be here.
Let's get straight to it. Why are people looking to get more financially fit in the new year?
Well, as we know, 2023, we could say inflation wasn't as bad as the last couple of years, but to put it in reality, it says since 21, expenses have gone up for the average household about $700 a month. And then in the last couple of months, student loan student loan payments have kicked off again, adding about $200 to $300 a month. So people are definitely feeling the pinch and wanting to kind of get their finances in order, to have a plan, be in better shape, going into 2024.
My New Year's resolution is to get into shape, to hit the gym more. The very first day I'm going to a gym, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to get, everything in order in that way. What is the first thing that I do if I say I want to get my finances in order this year?
Well, just like you mentioned, you've got a specific plan. Well, the very first thing for your finances is actually to set that goal. We would call it a SMART goal, but SMART meaning, is it specific? Is it measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely? So your perfect example, you're going tomorrow or first day of the year. Well, in your finances, if you said, I wanted to have $10,000 extra saved up for a house, by this time next year, well, that meets the criteria. It's specific, it's timely, you set a time frame to it, and you know exactly what you need to do. So then the next step is, whether it's a trip, a house, putting more into retirement, it's simply setting those goals and then working backwards. And we've got a worksheet on our website at Outlook Wealth. People can go there to kind of look and see, how do you put that plan together.
And tell us, if a person is dealing with multiple bills or credit card debt, what can they do? I understand they can call their credit card companies and try to negotiate different things. I know people really don't understand what they're allowed to do in that case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in many cases, that's also kind of a good step to take. It says, doesn't mean they have to negotiate with you, but it's kind of that old saying, if you don't ask, you don't get. And so in many cases, if somebody was either far behind or had large credit card balances, trying to negotiate is helpful. And it goes back to having that plan and saying, if they'll give you any kind of grace, you need to have a plan on how you're going to pay it off, because they're not in the business of just forgiving debt. They want you to pay it too, but you've got to have a plan to accomplish that. And oftentimes people can kind of use what's called a cue or a trigger, saying, well, look at your finances every single month. Are you making progress? And if you are, great, you're on the right track. If you're not, then the next step may be you actually kind of have to even penalize yourself. So if I didn't hit my goal for this week or this month, maybe I need to cut back on going out to eat or a little fun stuff the next week to try to make up for it.
Well, let's be honest. Things will happen. Emergencies will come up. Unplanned things will happen throughout the whole year. So what can we do to make sure that unexpected expenses or emergencies don't take us off course?
Well, one of the good rules of thumb that applies kind of across the board, but certainly in your finances, is beginning to have that emergency fund. Now, I know it's easy to say right this minute, but that goes back to, if you don't have that emergency fund that can get you through a couple of those unexpected expenses, maybe that's your very first goal for next year. So rather than focusing on the vacation or even focusing quite as much on retirement, it simply says, well, hey, if you're getting a little bit of a raise going into next year, dedicate that you put half of that raise right into savings so that you have that emergency fund when the car needs a repair or when something goes wrong at the house. Ideally, you've got a couple of months built up. And then once that's set aside, then you can really focus on your long-term goals of whether it's retirement, purchasing the house, or even the family vacation.
I know that can be overwhelming for a lot of people, especially when they look maybe at their debt and think, I want to buy a house soon, but that's just not possible. Talk about also, how can someone who's achieved financial fitness make sure they maintain it?
Well, there's the old saying, I mean, it comes back, it's not what you make, but what you keep. And so a lot of that, as we go into the new year, people aren't necessarily always thinking about taxes yet, but evaluating your tax savings. Are you doing everything you can to maybe not pay as much to the IRS is a big part of it, but also as we head into the new year, evaluating your investments. So if you are in good financial shape, the reality is this year, the market, the S&P 500 is finishing up pretty well, but we certainly have some unknowns next year, like presidential election being a big one. So evaluate that risk. Make sure you're not heading into the new year maybe taking more risk than you should, particularly if you were on the doorstep of retirement or about to begin to need to use some of that money.
Financial fitness, just like physical fitness as well, it is tough. It doesn't just take 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks. This is a long process for people. What is your main message to those who may be a little worried?
Well, it goes back to that acronym is kind of the best way to look at it. In terms of setting your goals, even if it's a small step and says, well, the first goal is I just want to get a credit card paid down or paid off. Make it measurable, attainable, realistic. So I'd love to have a certain amount of money saved up next month. Well, if that's not realistic, what's realistic for you? So that you can actually begin to chart your progress, and small steps turn into big steps over time. So just as you mentioned, commitment to the long run is really what makes a difference in both your health, but also in your finances.
Michael with Outlook Wealth Advisors, thank you so much for joining us, and happy holidays and happy New Year to you.
Thank you.